So, you've got a child in your class who is struggling with phonics and learning to read. Pinpointing the reasons why this learner is struggling and implementing individualised strategies to support them will be essential in their success. We're going to talk through the steps to implement All Aboard Phonics Plus to do exactly that. Before we jump in, some key All Aboard Phonics Plus terminology to be comfortable with: phases, stages and ports. Phases are what we use in the main phonics programme. The GPCs that the child has been taught can be worked out from the phase and week that the class has reached. We have also then broken the journey in All Aboard Phonics Plus down into stages. A child needs to be confident in each stage before travelling on to the next one. You'll see the focus of each stage in the manual. To see whether a child can move on to the next stage, there is a simple formative assessment for you to do before deciding to move on. We keep the nautical theme by calling this the port assessment for the stage. So it's a bit like a journey across Greece, stopping at each island for a break before sailing on to the next one. Of course, each successful docking in an All Aboard Phonics Plus port should be much celebrated too. So the first thing to do in this process is a baseline assessment. So you should work through the categories in the baseline assessment, ticking any that applies to the student you're thinking about, and then writing a total score at the bottom. Each category then has instructions for the stage in which you should take action on. So let's say my pupil Jim has scored 6 in category C. So this would indicate a possible difficulty with his short-term memory, and so it tells me there to start on stage 5. So I'd flip to stage 5 in the manual and begin the intervention. Let's take another child, maybe this time Bob, and he's also scored 4 or more on category C, but he is also scoring 4 or more on category A as well. This would indicate that Bob has some difficulties with short-term memory, but also has some difficulty with auditory processing. The action from category C is to start on stage 5, but category A says to start on stage 1. So what do we do at this point? Well, it's very likely and very common for children to have more than one cause of their reading difficulty, but the key rule to follow is to always start on the lowest stage indicated by their baseline assessment. So for Bob, who's scoring highly on category C and category A, we'd need to start on stage 1 and work through the intervention in order. The only time when this rule does not apply is if a child is only showing weakness with category D, eye tracking, or category E, contrast sensitivity. If these are the only difficulties for a child, then you can complete the 10-day eye tracking exercises for the eye tracking issue or use a coloured overlay for the contrast sensitivity issue. You don't need to put that child onto the rest of the intervention if one of those is the only thing causing the problem. So let's go back to Jim, who we worked out is only scoring high in category C and so is going to start on stage 5. So if I flick through to stage 5 in the manual, you can see there's a total of 5 sessions mapped out, each with a few activities, although these are designed to be flexible, so you can pick and choose and create your own weekly plan if you wish to. Our only recommendation is that you start with the essential pick-to-phone check. Just make sure you have a good selection of activities that use the trainer text flashcards. On the next page, you can see we've got all the resources that you need right there to do the intervention. So if you're doing the true or false game, you've got your true or false statements there ready to use. On the next page, we've got a pretty lengthy word bank. So this is when knowledge of where the child is at in their phonics instruction will come in handy. So if we say that Jim is in year 1 and he's working within phase 5, unit 1, we can have a look and select words from the phase 5 unit 1 word bank, and that just means that they're going to be words that are appropriate for Jim to be using in his intervention. I can also go and find the right trainer text flashcard set for Jim to be using in his intervention. So he's working on stage 5 within phase 5, so this is the card set I would need. It says at the top stage 5 and 6, so that's good, Jim's in stage 5, and phase 5 unit 1. So this would be the trainer text card set that I would select for his intervention to play the games with. And that's it. So I would work through stage 5 with Jim and then complete the port assessment at the end. If he's still struggling, I would then repeat the intervention and continue building up and strengthening those skills until he passes the port assessment. at which point I can then move on to stage 6 and continue working through the intervention in this way.